Isang masayang pagbati na may ngiti sa aking mga labi. Naghahanap ba kayo ng makakatuwang sa pagre-review ng inyong anak? Meron yan sa DepEd. Ang ETUlay online tutorial ay libre at handog ng ating kagawaran sa pangunguna ng OUA ICTS EdTech. Ito ay isang proyektong makatutulong sa mga mag-aaral, katuwang ang mga magulang o kasama sa kani-kanilang tahanan para masagutan at maunawaan ang mga modules. Hangad din ng programang ETUlay ang matulungan ang ating mga guro sa kanilang mga blended learning classes. Ang ating ETUlay ay mula kinder hanggang senior high school. Bukod sa academics, meron din tayong mga special programs gaya ng All is Wellness, Reading and Math Remediation, Storytelling, Mommy Tech Talks, Classes sa Gramatika, Speech Class, Financial Literacy, at marami pang iba. Pinalawig din ng ETUlay ang ating Alive program para sa mga mag-aaral mula grade 1 hanggang grade 3. Gayun din ay mayroon tayong ALS program at SPED tutorials na makasisigurong makakamit ng lahat ang inclusive education. May SPED hotline na rin para sa inyong mga katanungan patungkol sa special education. Kaya, subaybayan mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, mula 9 ng umaga hanggang 7 ng gabi ang ating ETUlay. Sa ating pagtutulungan, maiaangat natin ang bawat isa. Ating itutulay ang pagkatuto upang di mapigil ang pag-aaral ng kabataang Pilipino. Itulay natin ito, sulong edukalidad.
Mabuhay! Good day to all! I am your tutor Madge. Welcome to ETUlay, a free online tutorial, an initiative of the Department of Education, Information and Communications Technology Service, Educational Technology Unit, ICTS EdTech. This program is aimed at helping and assisting learners from kindergarten, senior high school, ALS, Alive, and SPED learners. Aside from answering the modules, the ETUlay is offering programs which you will surely look forward to. Together with our parents and teachers, the ETUlay will bridge the gaps where difficulty and ease meet in learning new knowledge and skills. So, let us prepare our modules, pen and paper. Ready your mind to see and hear worthwhile and interesting lessons. Let us now study and learn, together with our volunteer online tutors. Tara na!
Ayan. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Isa na namang hapong punong-puno ng pagkatuto ito. At tayo ngayon ay nasa 4th quarter na. Ganun kabilis, ano? At alam kong napapansin nyo din na iba ang ating background ngayon sa ating ETUlay. No? Dahil bagong simula, kumbaga, 4th quarter, malapit na. Di ba? Malapit na. Tayo nasa week 1 ng 4th quarter and we will be discussing projectile motion. Right? So, tayo ngayon ay napapanood ng live mula sa official FB page ng DepEd ETUlay at official YouTube channel ng DepEd ETUlay. Ayan, binabati ko ang ating mga learners na nakatutok sa atin ngayon ng live. Siyempre pa ang ating mga teachers at parents. Diyan lang kayo dahil ito ay punong-puno na pagkatuto. No? Dahil nga, i-ready nyo rin. No? Marami kayong i-ready ngayon dahil ang 4th quarter ay physics and it has something to do with the computation. Di ba? Alright, so alam kong ready na ang lahat, excited na ang lahat, kaya naman ipapakita ko na. At sa ngalan nga pala ng aking partner, si Tutor Kevin, na aking ng director ngayon, siya ay nakikinig sa atin ngayon, hindi man siya nakikita. Pero nakikinig siya sa atin ngayon. Good afternoon, ay nakakakita ko ng mga students natin from San Mariano National High School. Hello, from Partida National High School. Ayan na si Ma'am Eleanor Aquino, nakita ko na siya. Quirino National High School, ayan. Thank you so much po sa pagtutok ngayong hapong ito, no? Alright, so let us start with, siyempre pa, sa ating MELCs. Okay, so most essential learning competencies, and we have this one. Describe the horizontal and vertical motions of a projectile. Okay, ayan ang ating MELCs. Alright, now, eto yung mga bagong quarter. So, bago ang nakikita nyo ngayon sa ating screen, ano? Not the usual. Alright, so, ito ang ating what I need to know. So, mga reminders lamang ito, no? Mga learners, okay? So, the first one is you need to take the pretest prepared at the start of the module. Okay, so I'm hoping that you are holding your module right now, learners, ano? And then, syempre pa, take time in reading and understanding the lessons. And you need to follow instructions carefully, okay? And then, number 3, use a clean sheet of paper for your answers in each activity or assessment. Number 4, try to recall and connect the ideas that you had in the lower years. Okay? Kasi nakaspiral tayo. So definitely, yung mga pinag-aralan nyo nung grade 7 pa lang kayo, grade 8, kaya yan ay magagamit nyo, no, ngayong grade 9. Right? Next one. Be honest. Okay? So, kung kayo ay pumapasok, di ba? Pagka nung may face-to-face pa, laging nandyan yan sa mga classroom, di ba? So, yung word na honesty na yan. So, when doing the activities, record only what you have really observed, right? So, I know the people from Malabo National High School and the La Paz Libutad High School know this one, no? Talagang lahat yan ay mga honest, okay? So, number 6, don't hesitate to ask. Yan. If you need to clarify something, approach or contact your teacher. Okay, huwag kayong mahiya at ang inyong mga guro ay handang umalalay at gumabay sa inyo. Okay? Number 7, take the posters prepared at the end of the module. Right? And also number 8, you can check your answers in the activities, self-assessment, and post-test. Alright? So those are some friendly reminders, learners. Alright? So now let's proceed. Okay? What I know, eto na, tingnan nga natin. No? Dahil medyo nabakasyon tayo dahil Holy Week, no? So, at syempre pa, nasa bahay lang tayo. Usually, pag ganung mga panahon, okay, tayo ay nagmumuni-muni, nagdarasal. Okay, so tingnan natin kung medyo may naisingit tayong pag-aaral, ha? Tingnan natin yan. So, here's our direction. Read each question carefully. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Use a separate sheet of paper for your answers. This is the first question. The motion of an object with constant acceleration is also known as. Okay, so ayan na, tingnan natin. Alam ko mare-recall ito at alam to ng ating mga learners. A, motion. B, uniform motion. C, constant motion. And D, uniformly accelerated motion. Ayun na, alam kong na-miss nyo ang answer mo, show mo! Na word. Ayan, learners, try natin nga sagutan ito. Tingnan natin, alam niyo naman, tayo namimigay ng kaunting pabuya, di ba? At kinonta ko talaga lahat ng mga nanalo nung nakaraan. Sila ay nakatanggap, di ba? So mamaya tingnan din natin kung may makaka-perfect score at ako ay hahanap din doon na mabibigyan natin ng kaunting pang-load. Ayan na, ang mga taga-Pinalagdan High School. Hello po, Antonio Padua. Alright? So we have... Okay, so ang San Mariano talagang nakatutok sa atin ng Ocampo National High School. Alright, so what's the answer to this? Answer mo, show mo! Okay, so tingnan natin, no? Alam ko yung mga learners na, ayan, si Alicia, no? Nagsagot na siya. And the correct answer is, uniformly accelerated motion. Ayan, ako, medyo delay lang yung dating ng ating mga, yung answers. Pero ang dami nagsagot ng letter D. Very good, learners. Alright, let's proceed now with question number 2. The curved path, alright, traveled by a projectile is known as. So, usually kasi, di ba sabihin pa project, because it's how it's pronounced, a projectile. Okay, so not projectile. So, we usually heard it as projectile, but it's actually projectile. Is known as, alright, A, projectile motion, B, trajectory, C, free fall, or D, momentum. Ayan. Alright. So, answer mo, show mo for question number 2. Tingnan natin. Okay. So, tingnan natin kung ano ba yung curve path traveled by a projectile. Anong tawag doon? Alright. So, tingnan natin ang ating mga learners if they know the answer to this. I know they know the answer to this. Alright. So, ayan na. Nagsasagot na. Meron na akong nakitang answer. Si Ben nagsagot. Si Joashel. Si Antoinette. Letter B daw. And David. Alright. So, tama ba sila? Yes, it is trajectory. Okay, good. Next, let's proceed with question number 3 this time. All right. Question number 3. It is a body traveling in projectile motion. Okay, anong tawag dun sa body na yun? Is it A, height? Is it B, acceleration? Is it C, projectile? Is it D, range? Alright, so answer mo, show mo. Ayan na, mga taga-Alibadabad National High School. Hello sa inyo, mga taga-Alibadabad. Hello, Arian. Alright, so tingnan natin kung alam nilang sagot dito. What is this body na tinutukoy natin? Hello, Ma'am Renalyn. Ma'am Renalyn, hello, thank you sa iyong suporta, Ma'am Renalyn. Alright, so the correct answer to this is, ayan na, naku, nagsasagot na sila. Nakikita ko na ang kanilang mga sagot. Siyempre pa, ito ay projectile. Okay? So next, let's proceed with question number 4. A sepak takraw, so I know you are familiar with this course, no? A sepak takraw ball is hit vertically upward by a player. What is its acceleration after 1 second? Okay, so is it A, 0? Is it B, 1 meter per second squared? Is it C, negative 9.8 meter per second squared? Or is it letter D, 9.8 meter per second squared? Ayan. Answer mo, show mo. We are on question number 4 already, learners. Ayan. Tingnan natin kung alam din ng ating learners ito. So, tingnan natin magbigay tayo ng konting sandali because it's, ayan, sige. Ayan na, mga taga-De La Paz. Hello sa inyo dyan, John Rupert. Okay, so thank you for supporting ETUlay, right? Dahil nasa 4th quarter na, alam kong very eager na ang lahat at ito ay physics eh. Alam mo, maraming interesado talaga pag physics ang topic. Alright, so I'm seeing answers now from our learners. Letter A ang sabi nila. Okay, it is letter C, negative 9.8 meter per second squared. Alright, so that is question number 4. Now let's proceed with question number 5. A volleyball is tossed vertically upward with an initial velocity of 5 meters per second and caught back at the same level as when it was thrown. Okay? What is the velocity of the ball at that point? Okay, so medyo delay yung nakikita kong sagot eh. Nagsasagot sila tama, ang dami nakatama din dun sa last question. Medyo delay lang talaga yung dating dito sa ating monitor. Alright. So, ayan, alam ng taga-Ocampo ang sagot dito. Is it letter A, 0 meter per second? Is it negative 5 meter per second squared? Is it C, negative 9.8 meter per second squared? Or is it D, 9.8 meter per second squared? Right? So, answer mo, show mo for question number 5. Ayan, tingnan natin learners no, kung alam din nila ito. At habang nagsasagot at nagko-compute ang ating mga learners, binabati ko muna, ayan, si Ma'am Judy Melegrito. Hello, Ma'am Judy ng San Mariana National High School. Si Ma'am Judy lagi nakatutok sa atin yan. Ayan, hello. Hello sa inyo dyan. Siyempre pa ang aking SDO Malabon, ang Malabon National High School. Okay, ang aking principal, Dr. Maria Victoria Ardigulan, ang aking head, si Ma'am Ina Trago. Hello po. Right, so thank you for always supporting my ETUlay session. Alright? Okay, so ayan, nakakita na ako ng sagot. And the correct answer to this is letter B, negative 5 meter per second squared. Alright, so let's proceed now with our lesson for today. Okay. So, nung grade 8, okay, so during your grade 8, the Newton's second law of motion, right? So, the law of acceleration, remember, okay? So, ito ay diniscuss nung grade 8, actually, no? It was discussed to you during your grade 8. So, i-recall lang natin, no? So, ano ba yung law of acceleration ito? The acceleration of an object as produced by a net force, remember, okay, is directly proportional. So, ay directly proportional to the magnitude of the net force, di ba? In the same direction as the net, no, force, right? And inversely proportional naman ito sa kanyang mass. Okay, or to the mass of the object. Okay, so that's the law of acceleration, and that is the Newton's second law of motion. It was discussed here during your grade 8. Okay, so now let us have this uniformly accelerated motion. But before that, syempre pa-recall din natin yung acceleration, ano? So what is this acceleration? Ayan na, mga taga-Tala High School, hello sa inyo. Alright, so acceleration is the rate of change in velocity, alright, with time. Okay, it is a vector quantity. So meaning to say, meron siyang parehong magnitude and direction, right? So tingnan natin, di ba parang pag ano to no? Pag nandun tayo sa isang lugar na maraming sasakyan, di ba? Mapapansin niyo, di ba? Yung mga cars talaga nag-i-speed up sila, di ba? So mapapansin. Kaya nga andoon ang ating mga traffic enforcers para manita, di ba? Kung sakaling may nag-accelerate bigla ng sobra, no, ay nandoon ng mga ating mga officers para i-control sila. Okay, so Yung acceleration kasi represents, okay, so kung i-recall, no, acceleration represents how velocity changes with time, di ba? And velocity represents how position changes with time. Okay, so ayun yung diniscuss ninyo during your grade about this one, right? So now, you are seeing here on my screen, no, uniformly accelerated motion, or the UAM, right? So a body is said to have uniform acceleration if it maintains a constant change in its velocity in each time interval along a straight line. Okay? So actually marami tayong examples ng UAM na yan na tinutukoy natin. So yung uniformly accelerated motion, we have these two, the horizontal or the rectilinear, and the vertical or the free fall. Okay? So ano lang natin, no? I-recall natin ito. Okay, so example ng ating horizontal. Okay, so a runner in track and field, okay, competing for a 100-meter run. So that's an example of horizontal, right? So tinasabi natin horizontal or rectilinear, UAM. Okay, so another, meron din tayong isa pa. Okay, if the runner's positions are taken at equal time, so explain na natin. Intervals, and the change in position for each time interval is increasing, then the runner is moving faster and faster. Okay? Then the runner is moving faster and faster. This means the runner is accelerating. Okay? So yun yung ayan yung explanation doon, no? Kapag tumatakbo yung ating, ayan nga, yung binigyan natin example for horizontal. Right? Next one. Ito naman yung free fall naman na tinatawag. Okay? So, uniformly accelerated motion din itong, ito naman ay example ng vertical, no, itong free fall. The pull of gravity acts on all objects. Okay, so when you drop something, okay, actually I have a ball here. So if I will drop a ball, kunin ko lang yung bola. Meron ako dito ang hinandang bola. So ito, idadrop ko lang siyang ganyan. Okay, so ayan, dinrop ko, no. The pull of gravity acts on all objects. So when you drop something or even when you throw something up, it will go down. Definitely, kahit pataas ako ng hagis, if it reaches the maximum height, alright, na-reach na yung maximum, it will go down. And that is because of gravity. Okay? So yan ay yung gravity ang may kinalaman dyan. Okay? So objects at free fall also exhibit yun nga, uniformly accelerated motion, di ba? The acceleration is due to gravity, which is 9.8 meter per second squared. That is the value of our gravity, di ba? So yung G natin, lagi natin ano yan eh. Tinatandaan natin itong G na yan, or yung gravity, or yung AG, di ba? Okay? So ito ay 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay? Neglecting air resistance. Okay? So ayun yung sinasabi natin. Constant acceleration for all falling bodies, regardless of mass and weight yan. Okay, next one. So uniformly accelerated motion pa rin namin dinodiscuss natin. No? Things thrown upward always fall at a constant acceleration. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, with a magnitude of 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay, this means that the velocity of an object changes by 9.8 meter per second every second of fall. Alright, so yun yung sinasabi natin. Okay, at saka kung mapapansin niyo, no, kapag halimbawa aakyat kayo ng hagdan, diba? Bakit ganun mo? Pag umakit ako ng hagdan, pag mataas, no? Or pag akit ako ng bundok, it's very hard. Okay? Diba? Parang ang hirap umakyat pataas. It's because you are going against gravity. Okay? Pero kapag pababa ka ng hagdan or pababa ka ng bundok, okay, you are moving towards gravity, kaya medyo mahirap na kasi you are not exerting force, medyo less na yung force, no? So, yun ang ating dyan kapag, kaya nga gustong-gusto natin pag pababa na. Kaya ayaw natin yung pagpaakyat pa lang, parang pagod na pagod ka because you are going against gravity. Pero pag pababa na, wala na, parang ang sarap na, di ba? Hindi na masakit sa pa, hindi na masyadong hirap. Okay? So, good afternoon from Tala High School. Hello po sa inyo dyan. Alright, now let's proceed with this one. Okay. So, still on UAM, no? Consider a ball thrown upward. As the ball goes up, it decelerates until it stops momentarily and changes direction. That means it reaches its maximum height, katulad ng sinabi natin, no? Na-reach niya na yung maximum height niya. Okay, so before it starts to fall back to the point where it was thrown. And its speed will be equal to the speed at which it was thrown. Alright, so ayun yung ating paliwanag doon, ha? Okay, next, let's proceed now. Okay, that means it reaches its maximum height before it starts to fall back to the point where it was thrown, and its its speed will be equal to the speed at which it was thrown. Right? Now, I have here some value, no? So, negative yung nakikita na. Negative 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay? So, medyo may ano lang dun sa unit, no? Going downward, yung pull of gravity, it's negative, right? And then 9.8 meter per second squared, it's going upward, okay? So that's why it's negative, right? Because the pull is going downward, right? So that's negative 9.8 meter per second squared, okay? And 9.8 meter per second squared if it's going upward. Okay, now let's proceed with this equation. So dahil physics tayo ngayon, talagang makakakita kayo ng mga ganitong mga equation, ano? Alright, so I'm sure nakikita yan at alam na alam yan ng mga taga-Quirino National High School. Hello, Risha. Hello, Santa Lucia National High School. Ma'am Melinda Espino Manyo. Hello po sa inyo, ma'am. Nice to see you again. Ayan, thank you so much po for, always being here na sumusuporta po sa ating ETUlay. Right? Santa Catalina. Oh, Santa Catalina, INHS. Hello po sa inyo, Mahay District. Hello, blessed Monday po, ma'am. Net. Alright. Now, you are seeing on your screen the equations for uniformly accelerated motion, right? So these are, so here's the value, no? Yung nakikita niyo na formula, okay? So yung VF natin obviously is the final velocity or speed, okay? And the VI there or the is the initial velocity or initial speed, right? And then A is for constant acceleration, T is for time, D is for the distance or displacement, and change in velocity is the average speed, okay, or average speed, okay, or velocity. Now, ito yung gagamitin natin on my equation. So, for final velocity, it's initial velocity plus acceleration times time. Okay, if you are looking for distance, it's initial velocity times time plus 1/2, okay, acceleration t squared, right, or time squared. And then for final velocity squared, okay, so you have there, definitely, no, ito yung ano natin, no, pag-simplify, right? So, initial velocity squared plus 2AD. So, ang ating D will be VI or initial velocity plus final velocity divide 2, right? Times time or D equals average speed times time or average velocity times time, right? So, that's the equation for UAM. Okay, now, so we have this, what we call motion in 2 dimensions. Later we will be having some problem solving, right? So motion in 2 dimensions. So projectile motion is a combination of uniform motion along the horizontal, okay, and the motion of a freely falling body, okay, along the vertical. It is an instance of uniformly accelerated motion in 2 dimensions. So what is this 2 dimensions that we are talking about? All right. All right, so the moving body is called the projectile. Okay, the curved path it travels is known as a trajectory, and the horizontal distance it covers is called range. Okay, so let's say for example, no, meron tayong nakita. Okay, mag-example tayo. Merong man, yung tao, no, meron tayong lalaki. Sige, example natin lalaki. A man diving in a pool. Nagda-dive kayo sa pool. Okay, so pag nag-dive ka ng pool, yung movement, no, along a curve path, that is due to the gravity, di ba? Due to the natural force, which is called gravity, di ba? Pagka nag-dive, no, yung isa, pusong-puso ngayon swimming, marami tayong nakikitang nagda-dive, di ba? So, that's an example, no? So, yung binabanggit natin kanina, ayan nga, no? So, yung tinatawag na trajectory, yung arc curve, okay? Like motion path, okay? And then the projectile itself is the object undergoing projectile motion. Alright? Now, meron pa tayong isang example. Ano ito example? Yung taong naglalaro ng sepak takraw. Kayo familiar sa sepak takraw, no? So, kapag yung tao naglalaro ng sepak takraw, pag kinik niya yung ball dun sa kabilang net, ay dun sa kabila, okay? So, di ba may net dun? Magta-travel din yun ng path, di ba? May curved path din na parang parabolic or parabola, di ba, in math. Okay, so ganun ang kanyang itsura, di ba? So, may curve path din siyang tinatawag. Right? So, yun yung mga examples natin na pwedeng magamit dito sa binabanggit natin. Right? So, the horizontal and vertical motions of a projectile are completely independent of each other. Okay? So, therefore, horizontal and vertical motion can be treated separately. Right? So, ayan yan ha. Next. So, ito tayo sa types of projectile motion. So, meron ako ipapakitang dalawang eksena dyan. Okay, so you have the projectile launch horizontally. Okay, so ayun nga yung sinabi ko, di ba, yung nag-dive kanina, example natin dyan, oh, yung nag-dive from that diving board sa swimming pool. Okay, so types of projectile motion, we have the projectile launch horizontally, parang ganyan. And then the other one is the projectile launch at an angle. Okay, so parang yung naglaro ng sepak takraw. Alright, so ayun yung dalawang klase natin. Now, so here are the kinematic equations to use for projectile motion, right? Okay, so now you are seeing a lot of equations. So para maintindihan natin ng maigi, okay? So yung dx dyan, okay, or distance x, siguro naman you are very much familiar with the x and y, no? So pag sinabing x, di ba, alam natin yun ay x, that is horizontal, and then pag sinabing y, that is vertical, right? So ngayon, dx there stands for the distance x, or the horizontal distance, or the range, okay, or the range, dx or range, or horizontal distance, okay, and then yung makita niyo dyan na vi, that's the initial velocity or the initial speed, and then vix, you are seeing vix there, that is the initial horizontal velocity, okay, and the vfx there is the final horizontal velocity, t, okay, 2t, capital T, no? That's total time of flight, okay? And the theta there, the theta, is the angle of projection, right? dy, now, how about dy? I'm telling you that's vertical, right? So dy is the height, or the distance, vertical distance, right? Or the height. And then you have the diy, or the initial vertical velocity, okay? And then the bfy, that is the final vertical velocity. And of course the g, and you know the value of g, that is 9.8 meter per second squared. That is the acceleration due to gravity. And t, small t there, is the time of flight, okay? So now, as I told you a while ago, learners, okay, bago ko ituloy, no, dahil medyo komplikado na itong kinematic equation na nakikita, bago natin ituloy, babatiin muna ang taga Pinalagdan High School. Hello po sa inyo dyan, ang mga taga Alibadabad, si Ma'am Michelle Matalang. Hello Ma'am Michelle Matalang from Bangkero Integrated School. Thank you so much, Mary Felagog. Alright? Ayan po. Now, you're seeing on your screen, ito na, gamitin natin. For horizontal motion, so for horizontal yung ating motion, these are the equations that we will use. So for range, we will use dx equals initial velocity x, or the initial horizontal velocity times time, okay? And then obviously now we will be using, it depends on the problem, right? So, and then we have this dx, or the range also, wherein you can use initial velocity, okay, squared times sine, okay, 2 theta, divide the acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8 meter per second squared, right? And then the initial velocity x, all right? So we will just be using initial velocity x, because I know you know this already, that this vix, okay, then x, no, that is horizontal, horizontal velocity, all right? So initial horizontal velocity is equal to its final, okay, horizontal velocity, all right? So vix equals vi cosine theta, all right? And if we will be looking for time, the total time, that is 2 vi sine theta, okay, divide the acceleration, or 9.8 meter per second squared. Yes, per second squared, all right? Next, for vertical motion, we will be using this equation, all right? So dy, obviously y, no, it's vertical, so dy equals viy t plus 1/2 gt squared, okay, dy equals bfy minus biy divide 2 multiplied by time. So your distance y now is vi squared sine 2 theta, right? Sine 2, okay, sine squared theta, all right, divide 2 times the 9.8 meter per second squared gravity, okay? So the final bfy now, the final velocity, okay, vertical, equals viy, or the initial, okay, initial vertical velocity plus g, or acceleration times time, okay, v squared, okay, that's the final, okay, v squared fy, or the final velocity must be squared, okay, equals v initial velocity squared plus 2 g dy, viy equals vi sine theta. All right, so now, to give you an example on this, so you will be using this one. I know you have your copy with you, okay, of this kinematic equations there, okay, sa tabi nyo, dahil talagang kailangan nyo nakatingin lagi sa kinematic equations na in order to solve problem, because you will be using this one. All right, so let's have a sample problem. If a bullet is fired with a speed of 600 meter per second, of 600 meter per second horizontally, okay, from a height of 48 meters, how long, all right, so how long, now if it's how long, definitely has something to do with time, right? How long will it take to hit the ground? What is the range of the projectile? Assume that there is no air resistance. So let us try to analyze now the problem, all right? So first thing to do, obviously, is to write the given. All right, so we have the given now. So the given here, so we have initial horizontal velocity, which is 600 meter per second. Okay, and we have the initial vertical velocity, which is 0, definitely, okay, because bullet was fired horizontally. Okay, and distance y, or the vertical distance, okay, so equivalent to negative 48 meter. Negative sign indicates height of fall, all right? Now, let us analyze the situation given. We can see the available information in the horizontal and vertical axis respectively, all right? So let us try to assess. So horizontal information, we need to look for the range, all right? So we need to look for the range. The given is we have the initial horizontal velocity, which is 600 meter per second, and then we have the acceleration, which is equivalent to 0, right? And then vertical information, we have this distance y, okay, negative 48 meters, okay, so that's the height, and then we have the initial velocity, vertical initial velocity, which is 0, obviously, and the acceleration is negative 9.8 meter per second squared, okay? So now let us try to find t and distance x, or the range, right? So now, before we can find distance x or the range, okay, we need to look for the time, okay? So because that's part of the formula. Now, so let's have the solution. So the original equation that we need to use is dy equals viy plus 1/2 gt squared, okay? And we need to simplify that. And in order to simplify that, so we will arrive with t, because we will be looking for time, remember? Time equals square root of negative 2 dy divide g, okay? Then let us substitute now the value, okay? So time equals square root of negative 2, okay, times negative 48 meters, divide 9.8 meter per second squared, okay? We will arrive with the answer time, okay? So we will cancel unit. So obviously we will have s, because we are looking for time, definitely. Time equals 3.1 seconds, all right? So we have now the time. Now we can use that time in order to solve the range. So dx equals vix times time, all right? So that is the formula in solving the range. So let us now substitute the value. But before we substitute, hello, Carino National High School and Santa Lucia National High School for watching. Ayan, thank you sa inyo. All right, so dx equals vixt, or initial horizontal velocity times time. So distance x, okay, or the range equals 600 meter per second, which is part of the given, di ba? Given yon. And then multiply dun sa nakuha nating time, which is 3.1 seconds. So obviously, let's do the operation. The distance now, or the distance x, or the horizontal distance, or the range, okay, is equivalent to 1,860 meters. All right? So I hope na nakakasunod, no? Because I know you are also solving there at home, no? All right, so now, ayan ang ating, naku, 252 na talaga. Pag physics kasi talaga, dahil ito ay medyo komplikado, punong-puno ng mga equation ito, no? So dahil dyan, nagbigay naman tayo, at alam ko na mga hawak nyo ang inyong mga module. I know you can answer the assessment after this one, no? Basta guided lang kayo with the hour equation. Alright, so ayan, ang Quirino National High School nakatutok sa atin. Hello, thank you so much. Ma'am Lindo, hello. Alright, covered by, yes, Ma'am Lindo, Manyo. Alright. Okay, let's now proceed with the assessment. Okay, so eto nga, no, sabi natin, di ba? Pag naka 5/5 ang ating mga learners, mamimigyan na naman tayo ng mga kaunting halaga lang na loan, dahil sa inyong masigasig na pagtutok dito sa ating ETUlay session at sa pagsusolve dyan sa bahay nyo. Alright, so let's proceed now with this assessment. So read each question carefully, choose the letter of the correct answer, use a separate sheet of paper for your answers. Alright, so let's proceed with question number 1. Here is our first question. The motion of an object with constant acceleration is also known as A, motion, B, uniform motion, C, constant motion, D, uniformly accelerated motion. I know maraming makaka-perfect, no? Alright, so ano ba ang tamang sagot? Answer mo, show mo. Ayan, sabi ni Ma'am Brenalyn, tandaan nyo lang yung mga units ng bawat variable para hindi kayo malito. Yes, Ma'am Brenalyn. Okay? Huwag niyong kakalimutan yung mga units ng bawat variable. Ayan. Ayan, nagsasagot na si Hensha. Ayan, ang dami na nagsasagot. And the correct answer is a uniformly accelerated motion. Alright, next, let's proceed with question number 2. Alright, the curved path traveled by a projectile is known as A, projectile motion, B, trajectory, C, free fall, D, momentum. Alright? So, what do you call that path, that curved path? Okay, na binabanggit natin kanina, nagbigay tayo ng example niya, no, a while ago. Alright, so ayan, nagsasagot na. Tingnan natin ang mga sagot ng ating mga learners. Nagtatype sila, yan. Okay, so I'm seeing answers. So, medyo delay lang ang dating, ano. Hello po from Alibadabad National High School. Hello, Rhea. Alright, so ayan ang sabi ni David B. Alright, the correct answer to this is B, trajectory. Alright, next, let's proceed with question number 3. Ito, it is a body traveling in projectile motion. Alright, so what do you call that body? Is it A, height? Is it B, acceleration? Is it C, projectile? Is it D, range? Alright, so answer mo, show mo. Tingnan natin ang ating mga learners. Alam ko mamaya magta-type sila dyan, 5/5. Dahil alam kong nakatutok sila mula kanina eh. So I know they know this assessment. They know the answer to this assessment. Alright. Oh, si Jester talaga namang words pa talaga ang kanyang binibigay na sagot. Okay, so the correct answer to this, yes, tama kayo dyan. It's projectile, right? Ang dami nakatama. Oh, ayan si Aaron. Tama siya. Alright, next, let's proceed with question number 4. A sepak takraw ball is hit vertically upward by a player. What is its acceleration after 1 second? Right? Is it A, 0? B, 1 meter per second squared? Is it C, negative 9.8 meter per second squared? Or is it D, 9.8 meter per second squared? Answer mo, show mo! Ayan, tingnan natin ang ating mga learners. Talaga namang masigasig na nagsasagot. At alam ko kasi marami talagang favorite ang physics. Eh. Talagang hindi lang karamihan mga boys, no, they are really very interested, no, kapag computation. Ayan, nagsasagot na sila, Richie. Ayan. Okay, so the correct answer is negative 9.8 meter per second squared. Alright, next question number 5. So let's proceed now with our question number 5. A volleyball is tossed vertically upward. Okay, so with an initial velocity of 5 meters per second and caught back at the same level as when it was thrown. What is the velocity of the ball at that point? Okay, so is it A, 0 meter per second? Is it negative 5 meter per second squared? Is it negative 9.8 meter per second squared? Or is it D, 9.8 meter per second squared? Answer mo, show mo. Ayan. Oh, meron tayong from Carlo F. Gonzalez High School, Johanna May Alvarez. Okay, so the first time I saw this school, thank you so much for Carlo High School. All right, so we have, of course, from Doña Magdalena Gafford High School. Hindi nawawala ang Doña Magdalena, lagi yung nandiyan. All right, so the correct answer to this is, yes, negative 5 meter per second squared. All right, naku, tingnan nga natin. Pakitype nyo nga dyan sa inyong mga chat, dyan sa ating comment section ng inyong score. Tingnan ko kung meron akong, kasi I will choose randomly, okay? Kung sino ang bibigyan natin ng ating mga papremyo. Alright. Ayan, ako, nakikita ko ng mga score. 5/5, may 4/5. Okay lang yun, no? Next time, ayan, meron si Aldrich 5/5. So, si Chloe 5/5 din. So, dyan tayo pipili. Okay, so dyan tayo pipili ng ating mga mapapalad na magwawagi ng kaunting halaga lang naman. Ayan. Okay. Ayan, tingnan. Ayan, ako, ang dami talaga naka 5/5. Thank you so much. Ang dami nyo talagang naka-perfect ngayon. Ano? Alright, so ito tuloy-tuloy lang naman tong ating discussion. Ano? Pero syempre, hindi pwedeng sa isang upuan lang ito. Marami pa tayong isosolve na problem. Okay, so sa susunod na ating pagkikita, talaga namang naka-ready ang inyong mga paraphernalia dyan sa pag-solve. Alright? So, basta lagi lang tatandaan, no? Katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, no? Dahil ang pinag-uusapan natin ay yung tungkol sa pagtaas. Di ba, nabanggit ko yung pagtaas at pagbaba, no? So, yun nga, sabi ko, di ba, pag umaakyat tayo ng bundok, di ba, ang hirap. Pag umakyat tayo ng hagdanan, ang hirap pagpataas because we are going against gravity. So napakahirap. Pero pagbababa, because we are moving towards gravity, medyo madali na. Okay, parang ano lang yan, pag meron kang gustong abutin na pangarap, pagpataas, di ba? Pag, kumbaga, pataas yun dahil aabutin mo nga So pag aabutin mo yung pangarap mo, medyo mahirap yung dadaanan mo. Okay? So medyo mahirap yung dadaanan mo, pero worth it naman, di ba? Kapag ka naabot mo na yon, napakasarap sa pakiramdam kapag naabot mo na yung pangarap mo, nandun ka na sa tuktok. Di ba? At pag nandun ka na sa tuktok, yun nga lang. Okay? Kailangan marunong kang mag-control at hawakan mo na yon kasi nandun ka na nandun ka na sa pangarap mo. So, huwag mo nang hayaan na bumaba ka pa. Okay? Pero gayon pa man, dahil sabi nga nila, bilog, yung mundo ay bilog. So, may mga ups and downs talaga tayo. Hindi laging nandun tayo sa rurok ng tagumpay. Okay? So, kailangan lang talaga ay marunong tayong magdala ng ating mga pinagdadaanan, kumbaga. Okay? So, dapat alam nyo kung paano yan i-handle dahil alam nyo naman, di ba? Kumbaga, tanggapin nyo yan as a challenge. Parang pag nagsosolve ka ng problem sa physics, di ba? Medyo na-challenge ka, mas mahirap, mas nakaka-excite, di ba, na mag-solve. Ganon din yung buhay, no? Pag marami tayong mga pinagdadaanan, gamitin natin yan as a challenge para lalo pa tayong matuto. Di ba? Para lalo pa tayong mag-improve. Ayan. Dahil wala akong words to ponder Dahil hindi na isama. Kaya nag-words to ponder na ako. Yan ang aking words to ponder for this afternoon. Ayan. Ito lang, no? Talagang dahil tayo ay nasa fourth quarter na, hindi tayo iniwan ng ating mga teachers, okay, na talaga namang hinahayaan nilang kanilang mga estudyante na manood sa atin. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng mga teachers na patuloy na sumusuporta sa grade 9 ETUlay at hindi lang sa grade 9, lahat po ng levels at lahat ng programa ng DepEd ETUlay. Talaga naman pong yan ay para sa inyo, hinahanda po namin ito para sa inyo para medyo makagaang ng kaunti sa inyong mga dalahin. Ayan. Kaya maraming salamat sa mga teachers na patuloy na sumusuporta, sa mga learners natin na patuloy na sumusuporta at syempre pa yung mga schools, no? Thank you so much po sa mga schools na talagang lagi ko pong nakikitain na I'm seeing Carlos F. Gonzalez High School, the first time I'm seeing yung school na ito. Kaya maraming salamat po at patuloy pang dumadami yung mga schools na nagpa-participate sa atin ngayon. Fourth quarter, no? So, sana po samahan niyo po kami hanggang sa huli. Dahil nandito na tayo fourth quarter na, no? Malapit na natin maitulay ang SY 2021 at 2022. Ayan. Ako, sa ngalan po ng aking partner na si Tutor Kevin, ako po muli ang inyong Tutor Bandong. Magpo-compute po tayo ulit sa susunod, no, na Lunes from 2:20 to 3 o'clock. Susunod na po si Tutor Icha at Tutor Rainier naman para sa grade 10 science. Maraming salamat po sa pagsama sa akin ngayong hapong ito. Thank you so much! Maraming salamat sa susunod pong muli.
Ang husay naman! Natapos mo ang iyong tutorial session kasama ang iyong mahusay na ETUlay tutor. May bago ka bang natutuhan? I-share na yan gamit ang hashtag ETUlay Level Up. Huwag aalis ha, dahil may susunod pang programa na pwede mo ring panoorin at salihan. Dahil naghihintay na ang iyong mga tutors. Happy learning dito sa ETUlay!
Kev.